Hello, greetings, kia ora, and welcome. My name's Tig, and for the last 4 years I've been doing my best to educate New Zealand about G protein coupled receptors, about the human endocannabinoid system. And so that's led me to educate doctors, that's led me to write the first course approved by the RNZ-CGP of hemp medicine to educate doctors. And that's now led me, thanks to the help of many good people, to put together, I believe, the world's first course on the endocannabinoid system for high school biology teachers and students. So thank you for watching and thank you for choosing to engage. I hope that you will find this field as exciting as I do. It is a brave new world and it offers us many ways to really improve things in our world. I mean, as scientists, you must wonder about climate change. How is it that, progress is so slow? Well, as the Rodney Times shows us 100 years ago, people have been talking about this for a while. So I think we just have to accept that anti-competitive practices influence a lot of what is known, what is understood, and what is allowed to be understood. And this entire subject is one which has been materially absent from science education and from health education, and that has left a void into which both pharmaceuticals and toxic petrochemicals have been poured. So this course is a chance for us all to begin learning about the tree of life, the perfect tree, cannabis sativa, and its potential as a functional food and as a medicine. And your students may choose to write research assignments for it as a functional food, or against it as a functional food. But regardless of what they choose, they will at least be learning about G protein coupled receptors, which is nature's favorite way for our cells to talk to each other and the outside world. And the way that GPCRs do this is with signaling molecules called cannabinoids. And these signaling molecules are so important that between 35 and 50% of all medicines target those G protein coupled receptors. More than 2/3 of pharmaceutical revenues come from the targeting of G protein coupled receptors. That's $900 billion. So, just as one example of that, University of Health Sciences, Department of Pharmacology, School of Medicine of Columbia. Cannabinoids cancer is a fatal condition which can be conveniently controlled with cannabinoids, but it's unacceptable because THC gets you high, even though chemotherapy poisons every cell in your body. I'm not sure it really adds up, especially as you realize that you don't even have to use THC. It's not actually about THC. So let's jump into the course and have a look. So when you open A1 Endocannabin-ology, you will see 4 papers, first of all. These are for you, these are for your students. The first one is an introduction to the endocannabinoid system, and I recommend you read it. It's a short paper, it's easy. The second one is G protein coupled receptors. It really just, mentions their potential importance in oncology, highlights the fact they haven't been targeted in oncology, mentions how significant a therapeutic target they are in medicine. We then have an RCT, a randomized controlled trial, demonstrating how 40 years ago it was demonstrated that CBD could effectively treat epileptics who current medicines did not help. Oh, sorry. And that really highlights that's part of the challenge here, because this unit isn't just about science. This unit's also about politics, it's about society, it's about power, it's about conservatism, it's about fear, it's about propaganda. 40 years ago, the gold standard of medical research demonstrated that this safe compound, that this hemp compound, industrial hemp compound, could cure people of intractable epilepsy. And yet it took 40 years for a single medicine to become legal, and that medicine is a monopoly medicine which is only for a very small subset of patients. And you've got to say, what's going on here? Is this science? Is this healthcare? Or is this business controlling markets and controlling consumers? This is just, part of it. The fourth paper there then is, that's another cannabinoids and cancer one, just to sort of validate the proposition for you, really. And that's why if you look up, you'll see the biological concepts, where we have more science than we need, but always nice to have more than you need. It's all broken down to subfolders. We have the opinions, a wide range of opinions. Your students can, of course, get more, but there's a good range of opinions there, and they do cover the spectrum. And then we have the social implications as well. So 4 major folders for this unit, and I hope you enjoy working through them, learning from them over time, and sharing this really rather wonderful learning journey with your students. So here we have the resources for you. You have the marking schedules, you have the teacher guidelines, credits, you don't need that, glossary if you want it, and the starter resources. So this folder is all that you basically need to start off. The starter resources here. Okay, we need to unload that zip to view that, so let's not worry about that one. Note, so you will need a Chrome plugin for this EPUB resource. This is a key point. To use this resource, you will need a Chrome plugin, and I actually have the link there for you in the teacher guidelines. That's down there for you to do. I recommend, given the complexity of the subject, that you get the students to teach each other, that you get people on papers to run seminars, to discuss the field, because it's all new, we're doing new. And through running this unit, what you'll find over time is you will be learning a tremendous amount from your students and what your students bring to you. I've given more information than is required, but I've given a breadth of resources. But the resources in this starter resources pack are not overwhelming at all. So we've got the, up here, we've got some introductory videos. These are just videos that I've made over time, and these are a really good place to start. So using resources from the medical conferences I go to, they're just running through kind of big picture stuff, and then that's a really useful way for students to just get a big picture handle on the subject before they go and start doing the reading. On the reading, I do recommend that you encourage students to start with the titles, the abstracts, the conclusions before they go to bodies, and get them to go through all of that, to skim and gather, you know what you're doing. So these are basically the resources in the starter kit. We have functional foods in Japan, a review. So what the Japanese did in the 1980s, they realized that they had a tremendous health crisis facing them as they went off the demographic cliff. So they said, well, we can either commit ourselves to huge expenses in pharmaceuticals and a patient population who will suffer the effects of those pharmaceuticals, or we can be smart, and they chose to be smart. So what they did was they created a whole new category of functional foods. And what this means is they said, we recognize these foods as having therapeutic properties and allow businesses to market them as possessing those therapeutic properties. So people were able to purchase foods knowing they have health benefits. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, basically. And this is what we're up against. In New Zealand, food is a second-class citizen to medicine. You really can't make health claims about food, which is unfortunate, because we should be educating people about food, shouldn't we? We should be educating people that food is medicine. We should be educating people about the role of omega-3s for making our body's own cannabinoids. We should be educating people about how they can take control of their own health. But the system puts medicine above that. So functional foods in Japan, a review. Paper just talks about that. What is a functional food? A functional food is a food that has health benefits beyond simple nutrition. So, for example, omega-3s make our body's own cannabinoids. Omega-3s, hemp seed makes our body's own cannabinoids. Hemp seed naturally is covered with a resin, a cannabinoid resin from the plant. So you're then getting the omega-3s you need to make your body's own cannabinoids, while also supporting through supplementing, through a dietary supplement of plant-based cannabinoids. So these are just potentials, these are just things to think about. Straight after functional foods, we have Dr. Stephen Child, who ran a national campaign of misinformation in 2017. Let's not rush to legalize medical cannabis. So Stephen is one of, Dr. Child is one of those voices, those opinions that your students can research, and I have a range of resources from him there in the opinions folder. Dr. Sanjay Gupta then, the Chief Medical Officer for CNN, Chief Medical Reporter for CNN, he was very, very anti-cannabis for a long time because, like all of us, he trusted authority. He trusted what he had been told, that cannabis was bad, cannabis was damaging, and he accepted that until he did his own research, until he unlocked the secrets of G-protein coupled receptors, of plant cannabinoids. And that's why he changed his mind on weed and why he publicly recanted on CNN. So that's just another opinion. The Scientist is a video that's really good for your students. It's it's 60 minutes of talking heads, but it's the Dean of International Cannabinoid Research, and he's anyway, it's a good resource. A Life of Its Own, The Truth About Medical Marijuana, Netflix video. Weed the People, Netflix. Do omega-3/6 fatty acids have a therapeutic role in children and young people with ADHD? Can food be medicine? Lifestyle nutritional imbalances associated with Western diseases, the causes and consequences of our diet. Hemp seed oil and its potential as an important source of nutrition. Introduction to the endocannabinoid system. Clinical endocannabinoid deficiency reconsidered. So basically, because our diet in the West is empty, or is deficient in omega-3s, we can have an endocannabinoid deficiency, which might result in fibromyalgia, chronic migraine, irritable bowel syndrome, or a host of other conditions, really. And this paper is really good because it's full of the evidence. The pharmacological history of cannabis, going back millennia, do-it-yourself medicine. So in Italy, they accidentally legalized hemp, cannabis sativa, in 2016. As a result, boomf. 3 major categories of pharmaceuticals down 11%, and all pharmaceuticals down 1.2. So just interesting stuff. We have here the Academy of Medical Cannabis, set up by a professor in the UK. If your students want to do that, if you want to do that, it's free. It's a course in cannabis. It is limited because, again, it's coming at it from the medical approach, and people who've come through the medical system literally don't know what they don't know and think they know everything because they think they've been taught best practice, but these material omissions mean that they literally really don't have a clue about entire fields within healthcare, which is where we have the exciting potential to send students off to med school understanding this stuff already and pushing back and asking questions and beginning the change of the system from within. Chronic diseases and lost productivity, the costs to individuals, government and society, opioid epidemic, fixing a broken pharmaceutical market, early diffusion, folk uses of hemp. So what you have there is you have a range of papers coming in around the knowledge that we have, which we start off knowing about G protein coupled receptors, which are nutrition dependent, omega-3s in particular, but all fatty acids in correct ratio, and that produce molecules called cannabinoids to maintain our well-being. Now, if we just scan over here, I just want to finish on this Ministry of Health quotation from 2008. It's a crime in New Zealand. It's a crime to say that anything is a panacea. So when the government's cannabis expert says that cannabis is potentially a panacea for overall health maintenance and protection, that pharmacologist, that bureaucrat, that consultant is coming right up to the edge of committing a crime, and this is not what they do. Not just that, but have you heard that at all since 2008 from anyone in politics or academia or industry that cannabis is potentially a universal cure? We haven't. We only hear that from the hippies, and the hippies are disparaged. Much like aspirin is used to prevent stroke and heart disease in healthy individuals because the endocannabinoid system is critical to the body's overall homeostasis, normal function, well-being, and influences all of our main organ and tissue systems. So cannabis therapeutics, a novel approach to pain and other disease state management, talks about how there will be inequity, in creating a medical cannabis industry. Basically the poor people will miss out. It talks about the importance of the endocannabinoid system, and it was accepted by the National Drug Policy Unit as being worthy for informing policy. I have the emails. And it was then buried. And then for 9 years under the national government, it was disabled. The Helen Clark laws were disabled, and progress was stymied. And everything that's happened since then has been about creating monopoly industries. So our opportunity here is to educate New Zealand on the truth, on the true science of our own physiology and how our health works. And hopefully from that, we'll see some real progress. Thank you for your time. All the best with the unit. Just reach out if you have any questions at all. Thank you.